You know, Sejal, there's so much talk these days about immigration, migration, refugees, etc., etc. So I picked up this article from the Hindustan Times, which is actually the first article as soon as you pick up the newspaper. It says migrant nation. It says India is a migrant nation. 9 million Indians have migrated between states annually from 2011 to 2016. Wow. Now, migration, refugees, creating this situation of migrant population ostensibly creates a problem, but most economists and most people would say that that it is not really the migrants that are the cause of the problem. It is society that causes the problem, and it's just very convenient for people to sort of blame the migrants for the problems that they're facing in their city. And India, being a nation now which has been facing this migrant crisis for a long time. This is interstate migrant crisis. So it says on the train to the capital, because Delhi NCR does receive the highest migrant movement. So here are the states that send the highest number of migrants to Delhi NCR. Number 1 is Uttar Pradesh. Number 2 is Bihar, followed by Madhya Pradesh, Punjab, Rajasthan, Uttarakhand, Jammu and Kashmir, and West Bengal. And the top sources and destinations, the outflow states from where people are migrating are Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Bihar, Haryana, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, etc., etc. And the inflow states to which people are migrating to are mostly Maharashtra, Punjab, Gujarat, Bihar, and West Bengal. So there's a clear divide. People are leaving certain states and like many states together are going towards certain destinations. So why? What is the reason for this migration? Now, most people
better job opportunity to begin with.
So that's where we're wrong, right? Because here's a survey, and this is what I found really interesting. Now, according to a 2011 census, marriage was the main reason.
Oh, wow, that's good to know.
That's right. Marriage is the main reason. It accounts for almost 49% of all migration in both rural and urban areas.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? I mean,
that's you really amazing. I always thought it was the job opportunities in the cities that brought people from across the nation.
So that is only the popular perception of why migration occurs. But marriage is 49%, and relocating for work employment was responsible for just 10% of total migration. It's
Love
crazy.
More than money, Charu.
And only 1.8% of Indians migrated for educational purposes. So India is on the move. The 9 million figure is significantly higher than the nearly 3.3 million suggested by successive censuses. The 2011 census data found that rural to rural migration is actually dominant and accounts for 55%, while rural to urban accounts just for 18% of all internal migration. So I think governments, when they are formulating strategies specific to migrants, to immigrants, to refugees, governments locally, at a state level, nation level, and internationally should keep this into account.
Absolutely. But talking about marriages, yes. I'm looking at something about interfaith marriages, and again, you know, I didn't know what you had with you today, and it beautifully just like both these stories merge into each other. Like you said that the biggest reason people move to cities is for marriage, and here is something about interfaith marriages. Now, there are a number of interesting combinations here. The couples talking about what happens when a Jain marries a Zoroastrian, what happens when a Punjabi and a Zoroastrian marry, what happens when a Catholic marries a South Indian Brahmin, and what happens when a Hindu marries a Muslim. But here's what's interesting. It's most of them have spoken about, and I love the fact that none of them have spoken about the kind of problems they've faced. They're none at all, you know, because as long as the house is open to a discussion, there's always going to be a solution, right? So, but their biggest concern is kids. What are the kids going to do? So very interesting stuff coming out of there. So one couple says, before marriage, they decided their child could marry as per his or her choice and follow the religion of his or her spouse as well. So it's also nice to see that these parents understand that that religion or faith is something that's personal and cannot be imposed. You know, if I have a Hindu parent, I do not necessarily need to follow Hinduism.
Right.
There's again there's a kid who says, I've learned about other religions and try to understand everything about my parents' religion, whose family celebrates all Christian and Islamic festivals together.
Wow, wow.
Beautiful.
And I can imagine there are some amazing experiments happening in the kitchen as well,
Absolutely.
right? With the two cuisines
Charu.
sort of merging and mixing and some interesting cuisines coming up.
My best friend comes from a completely interreligious family. Her mom's half Muslim, her nani was Muslim, Nana Christian, her grandparents Christian and Muslim, her uncle is Jew, her husband is British. So they celebrate all festivals, and the kind of food you get at their place, oh, it's amazing.
Yeah,
Every
I can
festival
imagine.
we just run to their place, whether it's Eid, whether it's Diwali, Holi, Christmas, anything.
Well, I don't have an interfaith marriage, but for my son, I have decided that we will celebrate all festivals.
Right.
So we celebrate
Absolutely.
everything, religious, non-religious, secular, all festivals,
Absolutely.
including Women's Day and International Children's Day, everything.
Father's Day,
everything. So yeah, and really what it does come down to is just sitting together, celebrating, eating good food, having a laugh.
Absolutely.
And
that's what a festival is about.
That's what marriage is about. That's what parenting is about.
Right.
Now, I have a very interesting article here in the DNA about how to spot and stop a toxic parent. Now, I picked up this article because I just thought, this is so sad. Now, many parents retain control over kids through verbal and non-verbal abuse disguised as tough love. Now, this is a question I think all parents grapple with. No matter how old or young your child is, you are always sort of grappling with this.
Right.
Am I doing too much? Am I doing too little? Is this, am I imposing enough discipline? Am I not? Tough love is a difficult sort of a path to adhere to, I think.
Yes,
Parenting
absolutely.
is difficult, says Deborah Gray from the DNA. There's no school that prepares or trains you for it, and while there is a lot of advice available from well-meaning relatives, there is also a ton of judgment. But that is no reason to turn into a toxic parent. Now, who is a toxic parent? A toxic parent is one who mentally, physically, or sexually abuses their child, believing that the parent owns the child and the child owes them everything. Now, abuse can be both verbal and non-verbal.
Right.
So it's not just about like slapping your child around. It's not just that.
Course.
It's also like humiliating them, ridiculing them.
Right.
You know, all those things, like
not
doing whatever you want to do
them.
to keep them in your control.
Right.
All of that accounts for toxic parenting.
Right. Basically decide what's wrong and what's right for them and not let them take their own decisions.
So here's the thing, right, Sejal? Like, of course you decide what's good. I mean, my son is one year and 8 months.
Right.
I have to decide what's good and what's not good for him. He cannot go around sticking his hand in like the dog's mouth. It's not okay. So, but this is the fine line that, you know, you walk every day. Like, do you just pull his hand out? Do you try and communicate with him about it? I try both approaches. I mean, you know, depends on how far his finger is inside the dog's mouth.
There becomes a thin line when your kids start growing up, because I talk from the other side, you know. At some point, there are things that I don't agree with my parents about, you know.
Yes.
I completely know that what they're talking about, what they're trying to tell me is wrong for me, because I know what's right for me, but at the same time, I just don't want to disrespect them or even hurt them for that matter, you know.
So this
by
whole
not
notion
acknowledging
of
their decision.
disrespecting, so this is a cultural thing.
Yes.
So one of the psychologists who has been quoted in this article has said that it's in our culture to sort of deify our parents, right? They have this godlike sort of persona that's been created, and you should not go against them, etc. And movies is really strengthening that. I mean, look at how the movies depict parents. The latest example of the most toxic dad in Indian cinema is actually Mahavir Singh from Dangal. Because he's a man who pushes his daughters to make his dreams come true with little concern for their own dreams or even their consent. In fact, the daughters are made to feel grateful that at least their father did not marry them off. So, I mean, like, so what do you do? Like, there has to be a solution to this. So what does a child do if he is in a toxic relationship? Now, he's completely dependent. The child is dependent on the parents emotionally, financially, everything. So how does one seek therapy?
Probably the child even doesn't understand that he's being emotionally abused or, you know.
So Deborah suggests that you go in for family therapy. Now, not the child alone, not the parent alone, because the parents are also often just replicating sort of, you know, their own toxic parent relationships. So, she says that group parenting, family parenting, family therapy is probably the best way forward.
I think that's a great idea. I've also read about and seen a lot of cases this beautiful story about these two twins who got separated at birth and then got adopted by two parents in completely different countries. And it's beautiful to see how the entire family, like both families, went together for group therapy.
Wow, wow. Well, lots more in the newspapers, of course. We could go on, but we must take a short break right now. But do stay with us because we're coming back with fitness, food, and a lot more on WION Breakfast.